Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. The video that I'm going to be covering is called Line Cook number 32, Can Anyone Be a Line Cook? It's by a channel called ahonamedsway. If I got that wrong, I apologize, but the name is really weird and it's all one word and it looks weird. I give my unvarnished, transparent opinion. Whether that is a bad opinion or a good opinion is up to you guys, but I'm going to watch this video and react to it. Does this guy know what he's talking about? Is he full of shit? Let's find out. Line cook talk number 32. Can anybody be a line cook? Just from the title of the video, my answer to that is no, not everybody can be a line cook. And it's not because line cook is some, prestigious position. A lot of it actually has to do with mental health. A lot of people can't handle the stress or the pressure of a cook line. If you already have issues dealing with mental health problems, then it may not be for you.
Someone sent me this question.
Okay, so he's responding to a question that you got.
Luke Dub asks, so I really want to get out of sales, and I always had a dream of learning how to cook well, and that being my purpose. Debating on switching over to working in a kitchen. However, I have zero experience whatsoever. I dishwashed years ago and learned all the tricks, but when it comes to cooking, I have nothing. Will my lack of experience hinder me in starting off as a line cook in some places?
Will his lack of experience hinder him in some places? Of course. Any job that you have, if you're starting out with zero experience, it's going to hinder the type of work that you can get. While that might mean that you have to start out at a lower tier, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to get a job in most places. So there are plenty of chefs out there that if they see that somebody is hungry for knowledge, they could start them out working in a restaurant. If you are getting into fine dining, you might have to start out in the dish area or as a porter, or as even an apprentice cook, something like that. While chain restaurants can have their own problems, you still get a lot of the core experiences that you would get from working on a line. I don't recommend working in fast food because while you learn a sense of urgency and you learn cleaning and different skills that way, you can learn those skills on a cook line without going into fast food. Some people made a career out of that, and that's totally fine. If you think that you want to make a career out of fast food and you want to go be a manager at McDonald's, then go be a manager at McDonald's. But but the question is about cooking. So that's my response. Let's see what he says.
That's a really good question. The short answer, yes. In some places, it will hinder. Your lack of experience will hinder you, but it's okay because those places aren't going to take you. You don't have to worry about that.
Well, that's not true. That's not really true, though. That's not really true. If you have zero experience, for example, the place I was an executive chef for, if I could see that you had a drive and a passion, and I thought I could do something with you, then I would do that. I would see if I could make you a cook or turn you into a cook. I would be like, all right, you're gonna work under me for a couple weeks. I want to see how you do. I'm going to put you under some pressure. Is that something that you think you can handle? And if you think that you could handle the stress and the pressure, I'll be totally upfront and honest with you about the kinds of pressure that I'm going to put you under. And if you are willing to accept that, then I'll be like, all right, so, let me know when you can start. And when you come in, we'll get started. We'll do some prep work and do a dinner service. Places that don't take you are probably not very good at training, or they are already looking for a cook that has like 2 years of experience, graduated from CIA and shit like that. Now the good news is those restaurants are far and few between. Like right now, I live in Texas, in the town that I am in, there might be one place that wants that level of experience. Well, he's technically right. He's also wrong to say it as if there's, you're rolling the dice on the restaurant, basically. 9 times out of 10, if you apply to a restaurant, you have zero experience. As long as you do well on an interview, you can actually do really well, which I have a video about interviews as well.
I can't imagine a restaurant hiring you with zero experience just so they can turn around and give you shit about not having experience later. I mean, if they do that, that's a huge red flag. You shouldn't work there. Someone in the lower end, whether it's fast food or a type of restaurant or a diner or something that a fine dining establishment might not consider up to par with them. I can see that.
Usually a fine dining place, usually a fine dining restaurant will hire you without experience and have some type of apprenticeship program or start you out as a porter or dishwasher. The good thing is you want to do that because the deal is that you as a cook don't just cook food. You clean the kitchen. You have to wash dishes sometimes. There's other crap that you have to do. And a lot of times these places are just seeing, are you too good to do certain things? And if they're like, okay, we're going to start you out as a porter and see how you do with zero experience.
I had a job at Round Table Pizza, and I worked the line, and that was easy because in front of you, you have the specs for every pizza, and you have exactly how much of everything. Like, everything you order from Round Table is...
Yeah, so he's talking about Round Table Pizza. I had actually started when I was 17 working in Pizza Hut, and what he's saying, absolutely true, but that's also true for Perkins, where I had worked previously. Now, the way that it works, and the reason why it might be good to start out with zero experience, is because the number one thing you want to have in a restaurant is consistency. I mean, obviously you want good food, but like as a cook, you want to be consistent. You want to cook a mid-rare steak, mid-rare every single time. You want the portions of fries that you make to be the same every single time. What brings a customer back to your restaurant is the consistency. They want something familiar. They came back because they want to have the thing that they had the last time they were there. If they come in one day and it's chicken fried steak and they order it and it's perfect, then the next time they come in and the fries, there's too much or not enough fries, or it's chicken fried chicken instead of chicken fried steak, or the steak that the chicken fried steak is overcooked, or the gravy was broken, or whatever the situation is, hash browns are burnt. That inconsistency drives away customers. And for every one customer that writes a bad complaint, there's probably 10 that just don't come back. Not everybody writes a bad complaint. Learning consistency is actually a really good thing, and I actually like that they have, all of the things written up on there. So, at Perkins, they had cheat sheets all over the place where you could see they had them separated by breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just like Round Table Pizza has. And Pizza Hut was the same way. And when you sauced, there was different sauce rings, so you didn't get sauce on the crust. There was different colored scoops that you used for different types of pizza. So there is a lot of things, like it's kind of like kindergarten for cooks. If you don't have any experience, this is why these places will take somebody without experience. Because even if you have experience, you still have to learn it the way that they want you to learn it. You might make pizza at home with 2 cups of cheese, but then when you go there, you find out that it's a cup and a half or 1 cup or whatever.
Pre-portioned out. And it was the first instance where I just felt like the portions were bullshit. I know they have to make, their quotas and stuff, but...
Yeah, that's usually true for chain restaurants. We had 2-inch spacing on the Bigfoot pizza. They wanted 2-inch spacing on pepperonis.
Go on a few more. A cook one time told me, hey, don't do that because...
this is how I knew I didn't want to be in chain restaurants.
Something. Okay. But anyway,
This is an amateur way of thinking. When you first start out, what you think is, I don't like it the way that they're doing it. I want to do it my way. I don't like the portions that they're using. I think that it would look better with these portions. But here's the thing. You got hired on at a place that has standards, and these standards are usually, restaurants do not make as much money as people think they make. Sometimes you need to cut back on those portions, and you don't want to have a bunch of waste, and you don't want to have people taking food home after they're done every single time they eat. So they don't, they come in because they know that they're going to get 2 portions worth of food and they can leave with a to-go box, and then they'll have lunch and dinner the next day. What we're talking about is consistency, because people eat with their eyes, and when they see something unfamiliar, it drives a wedge between them and being a repeat customer. The idea of I think the portions are bullshit is kind of like a situation where your ego is getting in the way of the food. If you want to give different portions, then open your own restaurant and then train cooks to do it the way that you want to do it. Use it as a learning experience, but right now the restaurant is looking for you to do things the way that they do things, not the way that you want to do things.
From my personal experience, I immediately started on the line. A lot of people, I would say a good 90% of cooks started off in dish pit.
I don't think it's 90%. I think that's an exaggerated number. People do start out in dish pit, but we've also started people on dish pit. We have started people on dish pit as a dishwasher that was hired to be a dishwasher. We'll hire somebody else to do dishes, and you come onto the line, and we'll train you, and everything will be great and awesome. And then they get onto the line, and they just tank, and they're bad, and they need to go back in the dish room. So some people just, like I said, some people just, they don't, there's no sense of urgency, or they mix things up for too long of a period of time. And you're willing to train somebody. As an executive chef, you're often willing to train somebody, but you're not willing to give them the first 2 weeks of training for 6 months straight. Like, there are limits to the amount of crap that you want to go through for somebody, and there's a lot of things that I will put up with from new cooks, but I have my limits. Everybody does. So, I don't know.
Are definitely going to work with you, and it just depends on what you want. I think if you want fine dining, I think it's a great goal to have, but if you have zero experience, I think you should get in where you can. Again, if you got to really think about
I disagree.
Do you?
So I think if you have fine dining experience, or if you want to be in fine dining, when you're first starting out, I would say that think about what you want to do and just go for it. What's the worst that could happen? They say no. They don't give you an interview. They give you an interview and they decide not to hire you. They have you come on for a working interview and decide that you're not any good. And you keep searching. So the thing is, the number one piece of advice I would give to somebody that was in sales or in some other sector, and they're looking to move into food as a career, the number one thing I would say is you have a job right now. You don't like it, obviously, or you wouldn't be looking for another job, but don't just jump in with both feet. Don't look for a job the way you would look for a job if you were unemployed. You have time to pace yourself, to put out applications. Be patient. Get your job apps. Get your Glassdoor and the Monster. There's a really cool app that I'm using currently that I'm not looking for a job. I'm actually on there because it duels as a kind of social media platform, but it's called Seasoned, and it's specifically for bussers, prep cooks, line cooks, lead cooks, servers, restaurant jobs. You can pace yourself and wait for the right opportunity to show up, whether that is in 2 months or 6 months or a year. Wait for the right opportunity to show up and then go for that opportunity specifically. If you do it this way, when you change, because the goal is to change jobs and be happy with what you're doing. Interview with a job and don't be afraid to turn them down. But don't just be like, oh, well, they're not going to take me as, I applied to some fucking stupid family restaurant, so they're going to take me as a, they told me, well, you don't have any experience, so we don't want to start you as a line cook. They're going to start me as a dishwasher for whatever, $9 an hour. And, I'm going to just do that and grit my teeth and bear it. Because I'm sure that this is how restaurants are run. They start you out. It makes sense. I want to start at the bottom tier and work my way up. But the thing is you can get a job as a line cook with zero experience. You just got to keep your eyes out for the right job. There is a lot of passionate executive chefs that know that if they hadn't been given a shot when they started out, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing currently. Right? So just keep that in mind when you're job hunting.
Do you want to work in the industry because you want to make fine dining, or do you love working with food? Fine dining, I think it's a great goal to have, but if you have zero experience, I think you should get in where you can. Again, if you got to really think about this. Do you want to work in the industry because you want to make fine dining, or do you love working with food? Do you like?
No, I do agree with that.
Idea of working with food, because then
I do agree with that. Sometimes people think that they know what they want, and they don't actually know what they want. You think to yourself, I see Gordon Ramsay on TV, so that's what I want to do. But then you get involved with it, and you realize, well, I like to cook, but I don't know if I really like to cook this kind of food. Once you see how the sausage is made, sometimes you don't always want to be the guy that makes the sausage, This is why I say to be patient and to pace yourself with your applications. Do your job interviews, ask a lot of really pointed questions, look for red flags. Like I said, I've got a red flag video, I've got a job application video, I've got an interview video, I've got all those up. So sub to the channel, check those out, and then you can make a conscious decision on whether or not you want to even be in food service, because maybe you don't want to be in food service.
It's a beautiful foundation. Work at a diner. Not quite a Chili's, but I would say like mom and pop diner.
I have not heard one person. So I'm in some chefs groups. I'm in some Facebook chefs groups. I have not heard one person say a good thing about Chili's. Now, if you do work at Chili's and you do have those good experiences, I'd love to hear about them. But every time the word Chili's is mentioned, I don't hear anything except bad stuff. Actually, if you guys want to see a video specifically on the best and worst chain restaurants, I'll do research and do a video. I'll put that on my list for you guys. I would say that at a real minimum, you should start with chain restaurants and mom and pop shops and then work your way up from there. Get a year of experience and don't look for anything else for a year. Then start putting in applications. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. If you have customer service experience and sales experience and experience still working with people in some way, you can put that on an application and you could actually end up in, like a shift lead position at a restaurant for servers. Then, you can learn the menu afterwards. Because a lot of the issue that management runs into is the people that they hire have knowledge of food, but they don't know how to handle the customer and the guests, and they don't know anything about counting money and all of that other stuff. So if you already have that skill set, you can work front of house a lot easier than a cook could go from back of house to front of house. So that may be an option too. Maybe you don't want to be a cook. Maybe you think you want to be a cook, but you just generally want to work in restaurants. Look into some type of possible leadership role, especially if you have years of experience in the field.
Another great place that you can apply would be like a hotel. Hotels have kitchens, places offer continental breakfasts.
I agree.
In some cases, they'll have a restaurant attached to it or a lounge. I've worked in a restaurant that had a steakhouse bar.
As far as working in a hotel, starting out, I actually agree with that. It's slower pace, less stress, about equal amounts of drama. I literally just talked about the difference between working in a restaurant and hotel. You kind of get the feel for a restaurant, but it's like instead of it being dialed all the way up to 11, it's dialed back to about an 8. Or even like a 6 or whatever. Depending on how well known your restaurant is, might change how many caterings you get or how many people from the outside are coming in versus how many guests you have. A lot of hotels that have restaurants with them, a lot of the business is determined by how many people are staying in the hotel. That will be 85 to 90% of your guests, and then 10% will be people on the outside that heard about it coming in. Because not a lot of people that live in the area would think about, I want to go to a restaurant in a hotel. Even if they serve really good food, it's just something they don't think about because they don't travel to their own city. They live where they are, obviously. So they don't think about travel. They don't think about hotels as like a destination to go for food. You should look into restaurants that have hotels and not just apply there for work, but go check them out for their food because you might actually find something you really like there.
Everything we do is our way. And even the chef once told me, it's like, look, there's the way they do it, and then there's our way of doing it, okay? It's like each restaurant has its own language. Each restaurant has its own way of doing it. Now, if I go to another restaurant and if they say, Josue, go make some hollandaise sauce, I'm going to ask the chef to show me the first time because I've made hollandaise.
Now, so there's two sides to this. I both agree and disagree. Where I agree is that chefs could have nuance to the things that they do. However, experienced chefs, they expect, if you don't have experience, they should be training you. And if you don't receive training, if they say just go make hollandaise sauce and you don't have any experience, that's just bad management, right? Where I can agree with him is that one place might make regular hollandaise, another place might make regular hollandaise and maybe throw an extra bit of chili powder in it, or they do something that gives it their own personal signature.
If you can't enjoy working in the industry at its lowest, worst points, and for me it would be like, cleaning grease trap, bleaching drains, restoring disgusting equipment.
If you're not willing to do the shit work, then you don't deserve to do the awesome work. Say you want to own a restaurant. If you own a restaurant, you might have to unclog the toilets. You might have to clean the grease traps. If they're not doing their job, you can yell at them and you can fire them, but the grease traps still need done at the end of the day. So if you're not willing to do that now, you need to learn the skill set and be okay with doing some of the hard stuff too. If you want to see more line cook based content, restaurants, stuff like that, even some recipes, subscribe to the channel and check those out. But otherwise, you guys have an awesome day and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.